to part 2 of my soft sculpture makeover. Now, this is the middle one. It is not well, no, it is the smallest one. I keep forgetting. Anyways, I went ahead and did this one completely. And I am going to move on to the largest one and show you step by step what I did. And this is what the smallest one looked like before, and this is with the touch-ups. So basically, part 1 shows the paint, and then I added some extra things, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. You're going to need a selection of colored pencils and watercolor pencils, and I'll show you or I'll tell you each before I start what the names are. You'll need cotton swabs, and you'll need this or your own favorite blush. Does not have to be e.l.f. And I have a two-sided makeup applicator, and I think this is an contour and highlighter. I brush and I don't get fancy with makeup, so I particularly purchased this specifically for blushing my dolls. So here is the largest doll, and as you can see, I've done everything up to part 1. The first color that you're going to need is the mahogany, and you'll want to sharpen that to the sharpness that you would like. I don't like mine to get too sharp because I break it often. And the mahogany is just a colored pencil. It is not a watercolor. And I just kind of put a little, follow the line. I didn't go under the eye. There's already some color there that the original artist put, and I don't think I need to put any more. I don't want the face to look too made up. What I'm going for here is shadow. And it's a lot easier to add a little bit and see if you need to add more than to go bonkers. And slowly, as you build up the colors, then you start to see the difference. The next color that I used is a dark umber, and it is a watercolor. And it happens to be Prismacolor watercolor, but you can use any brand that you have on hand or that's at your local store. It doesn't have to be Prismacolor. But the dark umber is adding that darkness to it. And now I'm taking my cotton swab and I dipped it in the water, and I used a paper towel because I do not want it to be dripping. And I'm smudging that color, that watercolor. And that's basically how the watercolor pencils work. You work with them dry, and then you can moisten where you've colored. Now I'm going back again just to darken it up just a little bit more. And that, I believe I'm doing the mahogany, and that's just the colored pencil, not the watercolor. And then a little bit more with a Q-tip. And you're just going to have to, when you go to work on your project, you have to decide when is enough and when to stop. And now I got a little bit on the whites of the eye, so I'm just wiping that off. I want to keep that crisp and white. Now I'm taking the white pencil, and it's actually a charcoal. It's from my charcoal pencil set for drawing, but you could use a white watercolor pencil or a white colored pencil. And basically I'm lightening on top of that acrylic paint that I painted in part 1, only on the bottom half of the eye. I want the top half to be a darker blue because that's adding the three-dimensional effect and the depth that we want. So leave that top alone. It might be tempting, it might look uneven, but leave it alone. Now I'm taking a dark green colored pencil, and what I'm doing, I'm only coloring in where I've lightened it with the white. And really, this is just a personal preference. I don't want it to be a plain blue. I want it to have a little bit of variation in the color. So kind of a aqua blue. And if you happen to make it a little bit too dark, just take your white pencil again and lighten that back up. You want to keep that dimension and the three-dimensional effect. Now we're moving on, and because this is the bigger doll, I'm actually using the bigger end, and I'm just blushing. I blushed the nose, and I'm blushing in the direction that I would like the brows to be, or the forehead, so it gives it a little bit of an expression. And don't go bonkers with the color. Stay away from that seam, because anything you hit with that is going to put emphasis on it, and you don't really want to emphasize the seam in the doll. It's not a feature. Now we're going over to the other cheek, and I'm just doing a circular motion. Whenever you dab into your blush, the powder that you're using to color, you'll want to have a clean paper towel so that you can dab off the excess. Remember, you do not want to put way too much on. You can always build up. If it's too light, you can go back and make it darker. Now, these ears I'm not really fond of them. If you didn't want to draw attention to them, you could just leave them alone. When we move on to the next step, which will be the hair, I'll probably be covering up those ears mostly. Now we are taking the mahogany again, and I know that probably doesn't really make sense, but when you put it with the color of the thread, it makes a nice neutral color. So again, we're not going for a made up makeup look. And basically all I did was color the thread there under the lip. Now moving on to shading of the body parts. Now, if you were lucky like I was to receive your doll already made, you just need to go through, and wherever there were stitching to indicate the little dimples, then you'll just take the larger brush for, say, the kneecaps and the soles of the feet, and then you'll take the smaller end of the brush and you can work into the dimples. And this is just playing around. The good thing is it does fade after time if you do put too much and you can't get it all up. A clean, dry cloth, and if you dab it, can take that up. If you put too much, you'll just go in all the little places where there's a little dimple. And just looking over this, adding anything extra. And that is part 2. Part 3 will be the hair and the clothes. And here's our little cuties awaiting the next step. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll put the link down below, and stay tuned for part 3. Here she is, part 1, up to part 1, and then now after part 2. So we will see you in part 3 when we finish our dolls. Thank you guys for watching.